All right, we are pleased to be joined by a man who led the nation in assist to turnover ratio in 2018, the winner of the Walter Sage Athletic Memorial Endowed Scholarship, former guard at Kent State, former staff member at Eastern Tennessee State, and currently an assistant coach for the Stony Brook Seawolves. We got Jalen Avery. Jalen, how are you doing today, man? Thanks for joining.
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me.
Of course, of course. Hey, can I start with something serious though?
So,
Uh, you're out in New York, right?
mhm. Yeah,
The air quality. What's going on out there? You doing all right? I'm
yeah,
serious.
no, yeah. We're doing good, man. We're doing good. It hasn't been that bad. Like I actually seen some pictures on Twitter of like what it looked like in the city, but we're so far out on Long Island that it doesn't look that bad out where we're at. So it's been pretty good.
All right, all right. Well, I had to check in, make sure because I've been seeing some apocalyptic type of
Yeah,
photos coming out of New York.
I seen the same. Man. It looked crazy.
Yeah. Well, so outside of that, how's the off season been treating you, man? I know we're here in June, a couple months now removed
Yeah,
from playing games. How's the off season been?
man, it's been good. It's been good. We got one more guy to sign, but recruiting, through the portal and just recruiting as a whole throughout this whole spring, it's been pretty good. Kind of we got a bunch of our guys who were hurt this past year who are coming back, so we're excited about that and just really ready to get going. Summer starts for us in a couple weeks. Just ready to attack it.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so one of the big reasons you're here, honestly, the driving force behind me reaching out to you,
Mm.
your colleague John Fleming,
Yeah.
right? So here's what I'm going to do, Jalen. I want to actually play the exact clip that John had sent to me in our interview, and I'm going to ask you the same question, by the way, at
Yeah.
the end of this interview. So keep that in mind. But I want to get your reaction to this to get you out of here on this, John. I've really enjoyed all of the great stories you've been providing me. This has been a wonderful conversation, but I ask every one of my guests this same question, the same segment. It's called Bring Them Up on Stage. Who is one person in college basketball or loosely related to college basketball? I don't care. Colleague, coach, player that you would recommend coming on and that I can reach out to and be a pest like I was a pest to
Yeah.
you. Who do you think would love to come on here?
I would tell you Jalen Avery. He's an assistant at Stony Brook, played with me at Kent. We have pretty similar personalities, just as far as, loving the game of basketball and things like that. I think he's early in his career. He's even younger than me, I think by 2 years. So already established himself as a really good recruiter. His ability to relate to people is definitely something I think could add some, add a lot of great points to your viewers and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up Jalen Avery from Stony Brook.
I love it. Jalen, I'll be reaching out to you for sure.
Yeah, well, let me know if he ignores you. I'll get on him.
That's my boy, man. That's my boy.
You were the first one that he thought of.
Now that's my guy, man. That's my guy. Like me and John were really close. We actually, I don't know if he told you this story or not, but when I first got to college as a freshman, he had this reputation for being a super hard worker. Like he was in the gym every night. He was a walk on, but he was the hardest worker on the team. So I seen it and I was like, nah, I gotta work harder than him. You know what I'm saying? So we had this little like competition where he would come to the gym and he would shoot, let's say 300 shots on the gun, and he would like take a picture and put it on his Snapchat. So I would always try to come in behind him and shoot like 350. So it was like a little competition that we had. We would always, post how many shots we got up that night. And we would just, compete with each other and try to make each other better. So that's been my guy ever since then, man. That's my brother.
I love it. I love it. So he also mentioned you guys are pretty similar in terms of how you approach the game and
Yeah.
just your personalities. Would you say you're pretty similar? I mean, you just mentioned how hardworking, and competitive you are.
Yeah.
Any other similarities there?
No doubt, man. Just, basketball junkies, love to watch the game. Anytime we're with each other on the road, recruiting and stuff, we sit with each other and just talk about different guys that we like, or, and we just kind of got the same. We see basketball the same a lot just because we both were, growing up playing point guards. We both kind of been small our whole lives. So the ball's been in our hands and, point guards just kind of see the game a certain way. So me and him just we kind of view the game, similar and just, we had to just grind for everything that we had as far as, success at the college basketball level. So yeah, we definitely are similar.
I love it. So, Jalen, you're from Covington, Kentucky, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm going to get to your recruiting process and how you ended up at Kent State. I'm fascinated to know that because, Jalen, I think it's important that all of our guests have the opportunity to sort of share their background. But first, Covington, Kentucky.
Yeah,
I'm a Southwest Ohio guy in the sense that I love Southwest Ohio. I'll always say that. Didn't know until a few years ago that the Cincinnati airport is basically in
yeah,
Covington, right?
yeah. It's in Kentucky. It's actually in Hebron, but it's like 10 minutes from Covington. It's right. Yeah, it's right down the street.
And then Dave Cowens is from Covington, right? Or no? Or is he from Newport?
He may be from Newport. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's somewhere on that
I
border
mean,
though, right?
yeah, Northern Kentucky for sure, though. It's all close, man. You go over one bridge and you're in another little city or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. So tell us a little bit about then your recruiting process.
So coming through, I got my first scholarship offer from Miami of Ohio, going into my actually around this time, going into my senior year in June. Where they have the June, camps, team camps, and all that type of stuff. I got my first offer from Miami of Ohio. Then around July, I got a second offer from it was either Kent or Ohio. I can't remember who came first, but it was Kent and Ohio. Went through the summer, just try to play as well as I can. And ultimately just, did a couple visits. I didn't visit Miami of Ohio. I ended up taking officials to Ohio University in Kent. And I just, love Kent. The funny part is like my visit at Ohio was great. It was, I went out and Ohio is a great place. But when I went to Kent, I just felt like it was a spot for me. I met the guys on the team, met the coaches, and I just felt like it was the best spot for me.
So it's interesting. You're a coach now, and you were under the tutelage of one of the best coaches in the entire country. And that's what John and I were talking about and Coach Senderoff.
Yeah.
What was it about your visit specifically with Coach Sendy that made you kind of fall in love with Kent and want to play basketball for him?
Cindy's real. He's hard nosed. He's tough. He's very similar to the coaches that I had coming up as a kid. He was, I could tell that he was going to be on me. I could tell that he was fiery. But most importantly, I felt like he really cared. I didn't, when we sat in the office and, with my parents and we talked and had our meeting, it wasn't any fluff with him. He just was real. He was direct. He kind of laid out his expectations. He didn't promise me anything, but he let me know that, if I worked hard and I did the right things and I beat out guys, then, everything that I earned would be given to me. You know what I'm saying? So I just respected that. And yeah, he fit my personality. And like I said, the coaching that I was used to.
We're going to get into your coaching here in a little bit, but Jalen, do you see in your very young coaching career any aspects that you share with Coach Senderoff or anything that you've drawn from him?
Yeah, just being real, telling guys the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. And, everybody says they want the truth, but, it's tough when the truth isn't exactly what you want to hear. And that's how Cindy was. That's how he was with me specifically. Like he always gave me the truth, the unfiltered truth. You know what I'm saying? And that's how, I try to be like that with our guys. And when you build up, when you work with guys and you're there for them and you let them know and show them that you truly care about them, you can be real with them. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I try to get from him. I just try to be as real as I can with these guys, tell them the truth, and genuinely just care about them and want them to be successful on the court, off the court, and everything in between.
I think it's a great point that you bring up. And I remember vividly this conversation I had with John, which was only a couple of weeks ago, but we were talking a little bit about player development. And he was saying, look, in order to get through or have these guys trust you, you have to build that trust from way back. And you actually have to genuinely care. Yeah. And so it sounds like you guys are on the same wavelength in that respect. And probably why you're two of the best and most successful young coaches out there right now.
Yeah, no doubt, man. You got to, that's kind of been when you come into this coaching game, there's no manual for, how to do, this, you kind of find your niche and see, what is it that you think that you can bring, to these guys? How can you help them? And as former players and young guys, I think, like John said, the most, what comes natural to us is being in the gym. That's what we love to be. That's natural for me. That's second nature. So that's what I try to do. When I first came into the coaching, even as a graduate assistant at ETSU, I just try to live in the gym with guys. And I started to figure out and realize, like, the more time you spend with guys, the closer you get with them, the more they trust you, the more they know that you care about them. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my formula. And I stick to that.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit now. to when you put the ball down and wanted to take up coaching? Because as someone who is as skilled and good as you were, right, getting high level recruiting offers, when you had to put the ball down and make a decision about what your future held, how difficult was that? Can you take us through that decision making process, Jalen?
Yeah, no doubt. It was really hard for me because, again, like we talked about how much time and effort I put into the game. So when I graduated, I think the difference for me is I was realistic with myself. And it's tough for a lot of guys because they don't understand what that next step really is. You kind of think, you can go overseas and make this crazy amount of money, but when you're coming out as a rookie, that's just not the reality. And I went through that same thing. When I graduated college, I signed with an agent. And kind of went through the whole process, and I got an offer to go to Macedonia, and the money was like, I can't even remember what it was. $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, like something that for me, the time and the effort that I put into the game, I was just like, wow, this is my market value. This is what it is. And for me, I was like, I remember telling my agent, like, let's just see if something else comes. Like, let's just see. And nothing else came. You know what I'm saying? I had passed on it and nothing else came. So, I just kind of, reality kind of smacked me in the face right there. And I wasn't like expecting something crazy, but I just kind of wanted to see. And like I said, nothing else came. So I had to pivot. And even, before I graduated, before I even signed with the agent, Coach Cindy sat me down and, told me what my reality was. He said, man, told me, think you're a great person, hard worker. But I think that you will have, a much better trajectory as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Again, like I said, he was real with me. I did not want to hear that at the time at all. Did not want to hear it, but it was the truth. You know what I'm saying? Little did I didn't know it at the time, but it was the truth. And so as those things kind of folded up, I kind of thought about the conversation that I had with Coach and decided, said, hey, this coaching, maybe coaching is what I want to do. So yeah, that's kind of how it went for me.
Yeah. And so it's almost like a whole nother recruiting process, except now you are the one that are trying to find these different opportunities, Jalen. So was your first stop at ETSU? Was your first stop at Eastern Tennessee State?
Yeah, ETSU was my first stop. As a coach. Yeah, as a graduate assistant.
So then how did that come about?
Man, so I'm sitting at home and, I'm sitting at home and I was still working out at the time because, like I said, I was still waiting on the next opportunity to come. And man, I end up tearing like a tendon in my bicep, so I had to get surgery.
Oh no!
At the beginning of the year, so I was, after I got surgery, I was kind of doing my recovery. This was like January, 2020, and then so I'm doing my recovery for a couple months, and then COVID hits, and the world shuts down. We all know how that went. So I just was kind of just at home like everybody else was. Just really just spending time with family and just trying to navigate what was next for me. So I reached out to a couple of my coaches, Coach Senderoff, Coach Akeem Misdean, Coach Eric Howe, Julian Sullinger, DeAndre Haynes, all these guys. I just reached out to see if those guys could help me find somewhere, and luckily they did. They had some connections and they helped place me down at ETSU, got me the opportunity, and I tried to take full advantage of it.
So was Steve? It wasn't Steve Forbes.
It wasn't Steve Forbes. It was Jason Shea. It was Jason Shea's first year as the head coach.
Now, so because I was doing a little bit of research, and so I think Eastern Tennessee State in Forbes' last season there before he took off to Wake was 30-4, and like they were going to go to the NCAA tournament, and then COVID hit. So, did you have discussions with Coach Forbes, or was it Coach Shea that you were only in discussion with? This just seems like this is crazy amount of stuff going on right now.
Yeah, man. It was I had no dealings with Coach Forbes. It was all Coach Shea. It was all Coach Shea. That was I was there for his tenure. I wasn't around for the Coach Forbes. Even though some of those guys that played on that 30-4 team, they came back and I met them in my time down there. And I was amazed at I heard of ETSU because I've seen them in the tournament, but I wasn't really familiar with them. Never really watched them play like that. But I was just amazed with the way that the fans were involved because it's a small town, and man, it was a great experience though.
Was that Johnson City, right?
Johnson City, yeah, Johnson City, Tennessee. I had never heard of Johnson City ever.
Not even from the Darius Rucker song?
Nah, I never heard of it, man. I never heard of it.
Well, so I mean, Eastern Tennessee State, they're one of those teams, and I have great admiration for the coaches that do such great work at mid majors. Honestly, like Coach Sendy, where every other year you're like, all right, Kent State's going to win the MAC and they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Etsu's kind of one of those as well. So, Jalen, I want to pivot to your coaching philosophy and ask you a little bit about what it's like been being on the sidelines in practices. So, you're only a few years removed from being a high level player. Do you ever find it challenging? And this might be a silly phrasing, but do you ever find it challenging coaching versus telling a player? So what I'm saying is, Jalen, like you've been in their shoes just a couple of years ago. Do you ever have to bite your tongue and say, like, dude, just do it this way? Like, this is how I would do it, versus catering to that player?
Yeah, I don't think I have to. I think a lot of times, just depending on the guy, I think you gotta, guys are different. Some guys, they learn better by you showing them. So I do think I have a benefit in that, being a younger guy and just finished playing, that I can physically just show them, like, no, it should look exactly like this. You know what I'm saying? So I use that at times, but I think, it's just like I said, it just depends. Because I mean, even when I'm talking to our bigger guys, like, even though I'm young and just finished playing, I never played their position. So I have to, at the same time, be able to coach them and still get across concepts to them so that they can understand it without, technically showing them or saying that I would do it like this, because I would never shoot a jump hook. But you know what I'm saying? I still have to be able to coach them and show them and, correct them on different techniques and the way that they're doing things.
I mean, has there been a learning curve in trying to coach positions that you didn't necessarily play, like the 3, 4, 5?
Not really, man. Fortunately, as a point guard, you're kind of already a coach on the floor. So especially with me, I think a lot of my best attributes on the floor were like non-tangible, was my vocalness, my leadership. Like those are kind of like what made me who I was, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was natural. Like, I think that was part of like why Coach Cindy was, pushing me towards becoming a coach, because a lot of this was who I was as a player. So it wasn't really a learning curve, even though I didn't play those positions. I kind of I'm vocal anyway. I watched, even though I never played the position, I watched the game countlessly, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's been fine for me.
Yeah. So now you're at Stony Brook.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about the whirlwind of getting to Eastern Tennessee State starting in beginning of January 2020. How'd you end up at Stony Brook? Take us through that process.
Right. So after my year at East Tennessee State, there was actually a small buffer of 2 or 3 months where I ended up going to Northwest Florida State Junior College down in Niceville, Florida. So I was a junior college assistant. The head coach was Greg Heyer. I was a junior college assistant for 2 months. And I was down there with Coach Heyer and just, recruiting guys. And we ended up, got a couple guys signed. And I ended up getting a call from Stony Brook from, the head coach, Gino Ford, where they had a guy who was on staff by the name of Randall Holt, who's actually it was weird. He's actually a Kent State alum. And he's now an assistant at Kent State as well. He was leaving to come back to Kent State. He was leaving Stony Brook to come back to Kent State. And, they, needed an assistant, young guy, energetic and, former player. I kind of fit the mold. And man, I think, I thank Coach Senderoff, and Randall and all the guys at Kent State for just, all my former coaches to kind of just vouching for me and, just helping me get in. So, that's kind of how that happened. It was just a whole Kent State connection. Gino Ford was he's the head coach at Stony Brook now, but he was the head coach at Kent State years ago too. So it's just a whole Kent State family thing.
Yeah. It's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know as well. And obviously,
no doubt.
Your resume speaks for itself, but I like that synergy there between Kent State and Stony Brook for sure. So, when you get to Stony Brook, and you had mentioned your time at Etsu, there were some of those players that came back from a 30-4 campaign, and there was a bit of a foundation there. So when you get to Stony Brook, the way I'm looking at it is this is potentially a rebuild and starting something from scratch. Is that how you approached it? And tell us a little bit about that transition and immersing yourself in this basketball program.
Yeah, it was, it definitely was. It definitely was, because for one, all these guys were all new to me. They just had a year. The year that they had before I came was a down year for the level that Stony Brook usually performs at, because they had a lot of guys that left during the COVID year. They had a lot of guys that transferred out, went to high major programs, and they kind of signed a couple guys late. and they had they struggled a little bit. And Stony Brook's a winning program. They struggled a little bit that year. So coming in for me, like you said, was in my mind, it was definitely a rebuild of just trying to bring in new energy and just get back to the winning that the program and the universities used to seeing. So I just try to come in with new energy and just get in, like I say, get to what I know, and that's just live in the gym with guys, push them, try to get them better, and just bring new things to the table and new insights, and just try to attack the game a little different than maybe they've been used to. So I was excited about the rebuild. I had been around winning programs at Kent State and ETSU, so I just try to bring some of the concepts and different things, that mottos and different things like that we had at the different programs that I've been at to Stony Brook.
So that's what I'm super curious about, Jalen, and that's what I was most interested in from you personally. You nailed it. You came over from winning programs, Kent State, ETSU, and so now you're here at a team that's looking to replicate that type of success or come close to it. I mean, when you're expectation setting, when you're goal setting last year, what did some of those goals look like? I mean, is it as simple as just get the wins as many as you can?
One game at a time for me. Don't focus on, just, when you have losing seasons, to me, it's the same thing as when you have winning seasons. The mindset has to be just one game at a time. When you focus on the championship, man, it just, you can let things slip by you that, you can lose games that you should have won. So for me, it's just one game at a time, one practice at a time, one rep at a time. And we're just going to break it down. Every individual that we have, every rep, I want you to go as hard as you can. When you're off, you're off. But when you're on, go as hard as you can. Same thing with the game. Let's try to win every game that we can, one game at a time, one possession at a time, and just, be all about winning, be all in as a team, care about winning more than you care about yourself, and just, stay together.
One game at a time. I think the first round of the Eastern Conference, playoffs, I think Giannis, when they got bounced, said something similar. He was like, the Heat were focused on beating us each and every game. We were focused on winning a title.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I think they were just looking way too far ahead. Exactly. You see how great the Heat have been this postseason. So I want to talk a little bit about this first campaign, because last year was your first year there at Stony Brook, correct?
My last year was yes.
First year. All right. You guys played a tough schedule, man. I'll tell you what, you ripped the Band-Aid off. You played Florida, Eastern Washington, who's probably a tournament team. Obviously, they needed an AQ, which they didn't get, but they were the 1 seed, I think, in their conference. West Virginia, tournament team.
Right.
Now we get to conference play. UNCW, they were really good in the conference tournament. Hofstra, and then of course,
Charleston.
One of the best stories of the entire season was Charleston. How great they were. Man, you guys played a ringer of a schedule.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's a tough league. Like you said, even our non-conference was tough. Playing against some really good teams, and just we unfortunately we dealt with some injuries early. So we had some younger guys that may have not been expected to play as many minutes as they did, but they stepped up and they tried as hard as they can. And when you go through a losing streak and you go through tough times during the season, like I said, it's easy to just kind of look at your record and say, oh man, we don't have a chance. But that's why I want to give credit to our guys, man. Our guys never gave up. Regardless of our record, every day they tried. It wasn't we just things went the way that they did, due to injury, but there's no excuses. We all faced with the same thing. So one thing I want to give credit to those guys. They tried every day in practice. They showed up. They worked as hard as they could, and they gave it their all. So it was a tough schedule, man. But it is what it is. It's we made that jump from the America East to the CAA, so it was something that we had to get used to. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I say tough schedule because I'm impressed with it.
Yeah.
There's some teams that will play soft schedules, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And that is certainly not one of those instances. Is there anything, and look, there's no moral victories. In chatting with you here now for about 24 minutes, I can tell you're uber competitive. You don't care about moral wins. You want to get the job done. Sure. But in looking at that schedule, right, was there anything that you can take away from those games, or you did take away from those games as it pertained to moving forward last season and then even this season and building that foundation?
Yeah, it made me feel confident about, because a lot of games we were in, I felt like we were missing a couple guys, and we had, like I said, we had some guys missing that we wish we would have had. So a lot of games that we were really competitive in, I kind of look down at the end of the bench and I see guys, in their sweatsuits, and, because they're out or whatever. And I just, remember thinking like, if we were just one or two more guys, we're right there. We're right there with teams, and we're losing close games. But, so it made me feel good just knowing that, we have a good group of guys that are going to compete. So, I want to play tough games. I like playing, I want to go against the best. At the end of the day, that's my goal. That's the same thing I try to preach to our guys. We want to play against the best. We want to prepare ourselves, especially in the non-conference, because at the end of the day, in a one big league like ours, conference is all that matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels good, and you want to get wins. So I'm not saying that, that we don't want to win, but at the end of the day, we got a one bid league, and winning the conference is the only thing. The conference tournament is the only thing that matters. Unless you're Charleston and you go whatever their record was, and you can get automatic bid, but that doesn't happen every year. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it doesn't. And even last year, I remember sitting to myself, kind of marveling at the coverage of Charleston and everyone talking about bracketology. They're sitting there at like 30-3 before, or 30-4 before the CAA tournament title game.
Right.
And they're like, can they get in if they lose this? I'm like, these boys have like 30 wins.
It's still a question. It was still questionable. And luckily, I mean, they won it, so it's fine, but like, it was still kind of up in the air.
No, absolutely. And I think it was it against UNCW or Hofstra that he only lost by like 3 or 4. It was a close game.
Hofstra beat him.
And look, no. I mean, you guys didn't.
Us. We lost to UNC Wilmington and Hofstra. We lost to both of them really close. I think it was the Hofstra game was something like that. But we lost it. It was single digits with both of those games, man. So I know, and one was at the Hofstra game was at our place, and the UNCW game was at their place. So I mean, those two teams were at the top of the league, and that's why I said it kind of gave me some confidence within our guys. It made me feel really good about our guys because they competed, and we're right there.
Absolutely. And that's what I was kind of getting at and looking at those results. I'm thinking to myself, hey, this might be a springboard, something to build on when you're laying those foundational pieces. Real quick, just about Hofstra. I mean, I know you're a fan of the game. Were you a little starstruck? Was it kind of cool looking across the other sideline, seeing Speedy Claxton there?
I wasn't starstruck, man. I respect him, especially as a player like me, as a point guard. I definitely respect him, but I wasn't starstruck. I wanted to beat him. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're a really good team. They're hard-nosed. They tough. They remind me of how we were at Kent State. You know what I'm saying? They really tough. They're a tough, hard-nosed team. So I respected them from that fact. But as a competitor, I wanted to beat them. So that was kind of my outlook on it. But all respect to those guys, man. They had a really good team. I think they did a really good job coaching, those guys. But I wanted to beat them.
I'll tell you what, I'm circling those games next year, my man. I'm going to be circling Stony Brook Hofstra.
Me too.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Stony Brook offense. All right. Now you took that over. I think that's your claim to fame essentially. And that's what I've been reading about you here. It was the best offense since 2016, Jalen. What do you attribute that to? You personally, give yourself some credit, please.
Man, honestly, it is. I can't just take all the credit for it, man. We got guys on the staff. We have another guy on the staff, Jaden Eukin, and our head coach as well, Gino Ford, man. We sit down, and I don't want to leave out our guy, Daniel Ricard, too, man. We all sit down together. It's us as a whole. We all sit down and we try to formulate the best plan that we can. I think the best thing that we have as a staff is I don't think we're stubborn. I think a lot of guys, they do something their way, and whether it's working or not, that's what they do. I think, the good thing about us is we're all open to new ideas and willing to be challenged from each other and by each other. So it's, I just attribute to our staff synergy that we have. I think we have really good relationships, and when things are working, we're willing to just, adjust and do whatever it is that we need to do to get the win. So, I attribute that to our staff as a whole and just, our relationships that we have,
I swear I'm going to get you to give yourself a little bit more credit here, Jalen. You're too kind. But from a strictly basketball perspective, okay, like an X's and O's perspective on the offensive end, from a game plan perspective, what did you see? Like when you first saw this offense, maybe first day in the gym to where it is now, I mean, what were some of the things that were going through your mind and the implementations you thought you could bring?
Well, so what we struggle with, we're used to playing fast. That's what Coach Gino Forti did it at Kent. He did it at Bradley. He did it here at Stony Brook as the head coach. He's used to playing fast. When we lost a couple guards earlier in the year, we tried to play fast, and you see, in our early games, we were losing really bad. We were losing with large numbers. And then, we just kind of talked about it as staff and realized that we needed to slow the game down a little bit and be able to control the possessions. We ran a Princeton-style offense that forced ball movement and forced off-the-ball movement. So that's kind of the adjustment that we made, and we kind of stuck with it throughout the year. And, we had guys that made big plays too, so we just kind of, as we, tried to figure out what it is, that we needed to do, we kind of played the play inside out. That was best for us. And we just try to keep the ball moving and keep guys moving, not as stagnant as maybe we usually are, just because we have guys that can create more off the bounce. So we just try to keep the ball moving and just, get the ball where we needed to get it to.
Is it fair to expect from this Stony Brook team, just as a whole, really, as a culture, mantra, whatever you want to call it, no matter who the players are, is it fair to expect that you want to run and gun?
Yeah, no question. No question. That's what we want to do. We want to play fast. But I think the biggest thing that we learned throughout this past year was the fact that we had the ability to play slow and slow the game down when we needed to. It allowed us to stay in a lot of games. So I think going into this next year, you'll see us get back to, how we like to play, which is fast and play in transition and push the ball. But we're going to slow the ball down at times and, control the possessions a little more, at times this year too, because we realized that we had some success with that as well. So you'll see a little bit from, a little bit of both from us.
I'm looking forward to that. And I'm like I said, I'm circling that Hofstra game, man. But Jalen, I'm curious to know, because there's a ton of discourse around this. Look, I'll give you some background. I'm a Celtics fan. Okay. All right. And it was, I'll say, for lack of any other term, it was disappointing, I guess, to see how poorly they shot from three. Mm-hmm. But it almost felt like they had a quota that they wanted to hit. They were like, we got to get to 53s. Doesn't matter if we start game 7 0 for 12. Got to get to 53. So there's this, and just generally speaking, there's this analytics versus eye test discourse that we see quite often. Jalen, where do you fall there?
I'm an eye test guy. For me, like, make the right play. That's how I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about making the right play. And we have other guys on our staff. That's why I say I can't take all the credit, because we have other guys on our staff who see the game differently. You know what I'm saying? Which is, it's why we have a staff. That's why we all work together. But for me personally, make the right play. I think we all, we've been playing basketball our whole life. Make the right play. I'm not into just, getting, like you said, reaching a quota and getting 53s up, and we have to get these 53s up. And if we make X amount, then we can win the game. I want to make the right play at all times. That's kind of how I see the game. And so yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and it's hugely critical for an offense to make the right play, like you had mentioned. I just feel like sometimes, and it's seeped into the college game. It really has, either fast breaks instead of, like
right there.
Go for it. Yeah.
That kills me right there. Just, fast breaks and, guys 2-on-1s, they could just, we work on 2-on-1s almost every day in practice. Like, go to the rim, play on 2 feet, finish through contact and make a layup. But, we got guys now, not finishing the break or having wide open layups, passing it out for open threes. I'm not that guy. Make the layup. Let's get back on defense and get a stop. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I see the game.
Yeah. I kind of feel like the past few years we've now come to expect maybe on a 2-on-1 fast break, the one who doesn't have the ball, instead of, digging their foot right at the elbow and going straight to the hoop, they flare maybe to the corner or a three. And I feel like we've seen that. But another a troubling trend for me that I've been seeing is, in that 2-3 zone, when you got a guy in the middle, right, hand up, he turns, he might just have an easy free throw. It seems to me, if he can shoot the ball, of course, but it seems to me, Jalen, I don't know if you're noticing this, but especially in that zone when you're trying to break it, a semi-contested three, is considered a better shot than just a free throw. Am I crazy on that?
No, you're not crazy. I see that a lot. And I don't know if that's coming. I see it with our guys a lot. I don't know if it's coming from the NBA or just guys in general watching the game or whatever it is, but I definitely see it a lot. And it's something that we actually had some success this year where we threw the ball to our 2 and 3 man in the middle of the zone and just told him literally turn around and think shot first. Look at the rim and think shot first. And we had some guys that had some success in there because, like you said, guys were catching in the middle and automatically they're not making themselves a threat. And they're just looking to make a play for someone else when they should be making a play for themselves at that time. So I've definitely seen it. You're not crazy for it, but yeah, it's something that I think is, like I said, make the right play.
Jalen, I feel like I'm an old man yelling at the cloud. And you got to keep. You're younger than me. You're far younger than me. So it's nice. It's refreshing to know that you sort of share that sentiment.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I talked a little bit about the goals and the expectations for Stony Brook last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to know what they are year 2 going into the Colonial. You're not transitioning conferences.
Right.
You've sort of built this foundation from year 1, and it's continuing to build.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Rome wasn't built in a day, but what are some of the goals as you enter year 2? Now, you had mentioned, take it game by game, but what are some of the other things that you and the coaching staff are discussing here in the offseason?
We want to compete at the top of the league. That's our goal. We want to compete at the top of the league and, and be playing in March. Like, that's the plan for, I think, everybody in the country. For us specifically, though, like I said, we just want to be able to compete at the top of the league, be there. And when it's tournament time, make a run, try to be playing our best basketball late, adjust and make adjustments when we need to. But at the end of the day, compete at the top of the league and try to be one of the best teams in the country.
What are some of the words you want to have associated with this team? So I had just mentioned, just off the top of my head, run and gun. I can expect you to play a fast-paced type of game, but as you develop your identity here in the off season and get ready for tip, what do you want folks to know about the Stony Brook Seawolves?
Yeah, we're going to be tough. I think that's the most important, mentally tough, physically tough. I think that's who we are. I think that's who we are this year. I think we got a lot of guys who have, we lost some games last year and guys got bad on themselves. We were banged up a little bit, but no one cares. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one cares. You got to be tough. You got to fight through it. Mentally tough. It's going to, your ankle hurts, but yeah, you can play. We got to figure it out, find a way. So I think that's something that, that I think, teams are going to watch us this year and realize, like, no, these guys are tough. They don't fold late. They kind of play their best basketball when it's close games and it's, 4 minutes to go on the clock. That last 4-minute media, that's when they're at their best. So that's something that made me, really proud as a coach. And, so that's my goal.
How do you develop that here in the off season? I realize it's super unfair of me. And I asked the same thing with John, but it's unfair of me to ask, what I can expect from you guys here on June 9th, right? But how do you take steps to develop that over the course of July, August, September? So then by early November, right, by Halloween, you're ready to rock.
Yeah, you challenge guys. You got to challenge guys every day. You got to put guys in game-like situations continuously, day after day after day, put them in game-like situations so that when the game comes, it's something that they're used to. It's consequences to winning, it's consequences to losing. So I think guys gotta, not like losing more than they like winning. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that, we continue to try to preach. Like, don't lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, try to do everything in your power that you can to help your team not lose. So just, that's what I think, man. I think, losing stings and losing should sting because we should, this is what we're in. We're in a competitive game and we got to try to win every game. So, just try to, every day, your everyday habits or, what you're going to fall back on when you get tired. So I think every day you got to, just challenge guys, push guys, and just, don't let guys get comfortable and always expect the most from them.
So I've been trying to get you to peacock for yourself. That has clearly failed. So I'm going to have you peacock for some of the players here. All right. Yeah. One of my favorite questions that I ask, especially in this time frame of the year, Jalen, I need you to give me some names that folks may not know about today, but they are very well going to know about come Valentine's Day, even early March as conference tournament and postseason play start to turn the corner. I mean, I don't know if many folks knew who Sincere Carey was last year. Right. They know who he is today. If you're a real college hooper, and look, obviously the Kent State connection, shout out to John for the work that he did, but Sincere Carey is amazing. Jalen, who are some Seawolves that people may not know about today? Next year, you're going to know about them.
Man, point guard from Sacred Heart, Aaron Clark. I think he's going to be really good for us. We have a combo guard from Cornell, Dean Noel, who's going to be really good. Got a kid, Toby Anakonwu, who was a freshman last year, is going to be really good. Keenan Fitzmaurice is coming back. Man, I'm excited about our whole team. Tyler Stevenson Moore was third team all conference in the CAA. He's gonna make a jump. We got a bunch of guys, man. We got guys. We got Andre Snoddy coming in from Central Connecticut, Chris Midle coming in from Fairfield. I like our whole team. You know what I'm saying? I think the difference with our team, I think we're going to be that type of team where, we may have a different leading scorer every night. I think we had that much talent. Sincere and Malik Jacobs really carried that Kent State team. And I think we're a little more balanced. You know what I'm saying? I think we're a little more balanced, and we have some guys that, that can, pretty much all can have big nights. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's going to be just, one guy that's kind of just, continuously dominating, as well. I think it'd be more, like a team effort, and just a lot of guys just, contributing at different times, and, just doing whatever we can to get wins.
I definitely saw your face really light up and get super jacked up when you were talking about all these players.
I like our team, man. I'm excited about our team. I'm ready to go. I'm competitive, you know what I'm saying? And, we didn't have, we did our best, man, with this past year, but, we expect more. We want to compete and show guys that, we're here.
I'm looking forward to it. Like, I keep saying that. I'm sorry. I keep saying it like a zombie, Jalen, but I am looking forward to it, man, for real. So, hey, let's have a little fun here. I want to do some quick hitters and, pick your brain here. Let's have a little fun.
Okay.
Toughest environment you've had to play or coach in?
Toughest environment.
I'm talking, Jalen, these fans are on your ass the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying some rude things. You can't hear Sendy.
Yeah.
All of that.
Oh, that's the Ken Akron games, no question. The Ken Akron games, it's crazy. It's one of the best rivalries in college sports. You know what I'm saying? The Ken Akron games are crazy. It's super loud, like you said. You can't hear coach. And we honestly, if the specific game probably would be my sophomore year, Kent State versus Akron in the MAC tournament championship. Winner goes to the NCAA tournament. That was one of my most memorable games forever, just because we won the game and we got to play in the NCAA tournament. So I would definitely say Kent State Akron.
You guys don't like each other very much, man.
Nah, man, it is what it is. It's because, you know what I'm saying? Kind of when you sign that letter and, you say you coming to Kent, it kind of comes with it.
That's right. You talked a little bit about the tournament. Mm-hmm. You were in that game against UCLA, right?
Yeah, I was in that game against UCLA. That was my sophomore year.
I talked a little bit about this with John, but you had to stick Lonzo, didn't you?
Yeah, Lonzo, I did. But the crazy part, man, I always talk about this. Lonzo was kind of chilling at that time. Like, he wasn't really aggressive. I tell you, the guy that was really aggressive was Drew Holiday's brother, Aaron Holiday, I believe he's tough. He was tough. Guarding him was tough. He was really good. They had the big kid Welch, 5-man that had really good touch. They had TJ Leaf, I think he was a first rounder. TJ Leaf was really good. They were good, man. They were good, man. They were rolling at the time. And Lonzo Ball was the biggest name in college basketball at that time.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, they were a team where, they had stars showing up at Pauley.
You talk about playing fast. That team played really fast. Lonzo was throwing full court passes. And it was fun. It was fun to watch, man.
Yeah. It's always incredible to hear these types of stories, and you hung tough with them. You absolutely hung tough with UCLA for sure. Here's an interesting one I want to ask you. What's one thing you think you can improve on as a coach?
One thing I think I can improve on is
and it doesn't have to just be one thing if you think there's other areas of opportunity.
I would just say probably just, continuously finding more ways to motivate guys. We're in the gym every day working, and, it's only so many ways that you can then, switch things up. So, at times throughout the season, throughout summer workouts, throughout spring workouts, it gets stale. So I think some of the hardest things as a coach is, how do I continue to motivate these guys and, fire these guys up when the season is so far away? Specifically in the spring, right after the season, guys aren't feeling well. Everybody's tired, but we got to work. How do I continue to motivate these guys? And that's something that I try to challenge myself. And that's why I try to watch as much film and watch as much, game and, workout footage as I can to kind of just try to continue to get creative with guys and be able to push guys and make guys, feel like they're getting better. You know what I'm saying? Because, at the end of the day, I think guys are at their best when they're just enjoying the game. You know, when you get guys in the gym and they're just enjoying all the stuff that they're doing, they'll go forever. You'll have to make them stop. Now, when it's not enjoyable and they're just worried about, oh man, my back hurts, I'm tired, it's going to be a drag. They're not going to like it. You're not going to like it. It's going to be a drag. But, so I just try to make it fun every day and just try to get new ways of just continue to make guys just, continue to love the game.
That's super interesting. What are some of those ways you're doing it right now over the course of the last few years? I mean, when you see something getting stale, are you throwing on a movie? Are you doing some inspirational quotes? I might be totally off base here. What are you doing, Jalen?
Man, I'm different, man. I still for me, I play guys one-on-one.
There you go.
Because I know they're going to get hyped. When it's time, when I hop in, everybody gets hyped. You know what I'm saying? So I'll play guys one-on-one. I may hop in the king of the court. And then, within our workouts, just try to get really creative and do some stuff that, just unorthodox stuff that, may not be seasoned like, but it's just, different stuff that we're working on, whether it's just their touch or different dribble moves and, kind of over dribbling the ball and different things like that to kind of work on ball handling. And I try to get to, what guys enjoy, they see the stuff that they see these pros doing, that's what these guys want to do. And I just try to keep the game like that because, that's what guys want to do. You know what I'm saying? Guys want to feel themselves getting better. Guys want to see their ball handling get better. Guys want to see their finishing around the rim get tougher. And they see Kyrie and all these different guys doing all these finishes. These are things that guys want to work on. So you kind of got to just, switch it up sometimes. When it's a season, we playing off 2 feet and we got the play. You playing through contact. You finishing strong at the rim and using your shot fake and step through and all those type of things. But, when we get into the spring and the summer, I like to say that it's time for you to be selfish and it's time for you to work on you. So that's what I try to get with these guys and just, I try to expand our game as much as we can.
It's crazy. You and John really are in lockstep, man, because I remember asking him also about player development in the off season versus in season. He's like, there's different challenges. It's different how you approach a June, July player development training session as opposed to November, December. So that's awesome.
No question, man. It's like I said, I said it, but it's just all about, I love in the spring and the summer for guys to just really be able to work on themselves. I think it's time. I think it's, for guys are competitive and guys want to be the best player that they can be. We're trying to make all these guys come together and be about winning, but it's times in the season and, throughout the year where I think it's good for you to be selfish. Guys are home right now, right before we start summer workouts. I hope that all these guys are working out and being selfish with their time and, spending it in the gym, working on them. Because, once we come back together, then we'll get back to us.
What's one rule in the game you want to change? You have the power, Jalen.
One rule.
What's a rule that pisses you off that you just want to change?
Oh, man. One rule. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's one rule. I kind of take it as it comes. I'm not a guy that gets really fed. Like, a lot of guys get really amped up with reps and all that. I'm not really one of those guys. Like I say, I try to preach to our guys, like, be tough. Like the refs not giving you good calls. Okay, figure it out. Coach, you talk about Coach Senderoff. Short story on him. He's the worst ref in the country. I tell you that.
What do you mean he's the worst ref? What does that mean?
He refs practice.
Oh, I see.
He's the worst ref in the country. But what that prepared us for is any bad officiating that we got when we were in games. Because you could literally be guarding somebody, not touch them, they miss a shot, foul. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you're either going to yell at him, like you're not going to do that. So you have to figure it out. You be tough, you be mentally tough, you be physically tough, and you find a way to get a stop without crying to the ref. So that's kind of how I've been bred and built. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not a, oh, he traveled down here, but you didn't call it down here. Like, figure it out, man. We're all under the same whistle. They got the same rules as us. Let's try to find a way to get a win. At the end of the day, it's L's and W's. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to remember, oh, this guy got called. He traveled, but he didn't get called for it. Like, they're going to say at the end of the day, you won or you lost. So.
Well, do me a favor. If you can, get the jump ball rule. I want to see an actual jump. I don't want to do possession anymore.
All right. Man. Nice. I do like that though. That'd be a good one though. Like they do in the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
All right, we'll work together on that, Jalen. Just a couple more, non-basketball related. All right, you got Chef Bobby Flay. You got Mario Balotelli, not Balotelli. Sorry, Bertoli. Now I'm blanking on that chef's name. Gordon Ramsay. All right. Chef Jalen Avery? A little birdie told me you put it down in the kitchen.
Man, a little bit, man. I used to, when I was in college, I used to be cooking a little bit more. I'm engaged now. I actually get married in August, so
Congratulations.
Appreciate you, man. I haven't been doing as much cooking, thankfully, but I used to whip up a little bit.
Well, on your bio page, it says you're basically a chef.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do remember that. It did say that. I wasn't too much of a chef, man. It was real simple. Tacos and chicken Alfredo, man. There wasn't too much going on.
I could have sworn I had something brewing there. I thought you were going to tell me about all the 5-course meals. See, that's why you got to actually talk to someone to get to know them.
Yeah. Nah, I probably was playing around when I put that, man. I wasn't. For me, though, honestly, from not cooking at all ever to making taco salad and chicken Alfredo, I thought I was a chef. You know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause I had never cooked at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, I felt like I was, I was doing my thing, but I wasn't doing too much.
What do we say about the summer, right? You work on yourself. You worked on that. You worked on that, Jalen. So, hey, congrats though on the upcoming wedding. Where are you getting married at?
Back at home, back in Cincinnati. Yeah. So right outside. Actually, I'm actually getting married in Covington. So literally at home.
There you go. Awesome, man. Congratulations. Well, hey, Jalen, I'm going to let you get on out of here. But before I do that, I promised you I was going to ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
Bring him up on stage, man. Same question I asked John when he was so kind to refer you to jump on. Yeah. Jalen, you got any names I can reach out to?
For sure, man. You should reach out to my guy, Kevin Zabo. He's Director of Player Development at Jacksonville University. Great guy, former teammate of mine, my brother, my backcourt mate. He's a great guy, great personality, man. And, one of my close friends, man, really good dude and a rising star in the business as well, man. He'd be great for the show. So that'd be the person that I, recommend that you get on.
Kevin, you're up next, my man. Jalen Avery, thank you so much for spending the time sharing these stories. We really appreciate it and cannot wait. For the 20th time this episode, cannot wait for next season in Stony Brook, man. Thank you.
Nah, thank you again. Appreciate you having me, man.